Okay, I'm Phillip Baker. I'm the Executive Director of the Access Programs for the Faculty of Education at the University of Winnipeg. You're here specifically for the KTEP program, Community-Based Aboriginal Teacher Education Program. A brief history. In 2003, the University of Winnipeg was approached by the provincial government and by the Aboriginal Directorate and by two school divisions, Winnipeg School Division and the Seven Oaks School Division. The reason they came together is they said there was a definite need to have more Indigenous people in the school system. The schools that weren't being represented, the populations weren't being represented clearly by the people. They wanted more Aboriginal teachers. So in 2005, the program came to be in KTEP. And I was the first director. It was a 2-year pilot with 2 school divisions, and that was in 2005. Well, we're in the year 2018, so if you're talking success, the program is ongoing, very successful. We have going on 9 school division partners now, including Saugeen First Nation and Rosso River just joined. Shamattawa is talking about joining. We did at one time have Broken Head Reserve as well as the city school divisions and Lord Selkirk, which is Selkirk, Manitoba. The Winnipeg School Division and Seven Oaks were our first 2 school divisions. River East Transcona, Lurie Riel, School for the Deaf. They're sending a Métis person to the program who's hard of hearing herself. She's an EA. The program is all for EAs. These are people working as educational assistants in the schools right now. They're all employees. And the school division sponsors them to come to the program. It's a part-time program. It's different than the WEC program, the main program, which is a normal 5-year full-time program. This way, the people are working, getting paid. They come 2 nights a week to this building. The school divisions, as partners, release them from their EA job, educational assistant job, at the end of April. So they come May, June, July, full-time. Their jobs stop. They go on employment income. It's a special thing with the government. They allow them to do that. And their jobs are kept for them, and they go back to school in September. And they come part-time fall, winter, full-time May, June, July to the program. Because it's part-time, it takes 6 years instead of 5, 6 and a bit, to become a teacher in the province of Manitoba. And we're doing wonderful things, I believe. I think we're producing over half the Aboriginal teachers in the province between the WEC program, which is 50% Indigenous, and KTEP, which is 100% Indigenous. Just to that end, I've got a little bit of stats for you. Program takes 6 years. We started in 2005. First graduates then 6 years later, 2011. Since then, we have graduated 63 people, which is very, very nice. 63 of them, all employed. I mean, what program gets almost, if they're not working, it's on their own choice, but basically 100% employment. The school division sponsor them, and they pretty well hire them. There's no guarantees. If they don't wish to hire them, but after 6 years being an employee, okay, if they don't, they're free to go anywhere. And the couple where that happened to, they got picked up by other places. So our success rate's phenomenal. Our retention rate's better than the main university. It's almost 80% retention rate. We provide extra supports. These are adult learners. They're EAs, some of them have training, some don't. So they come here. We offer free study skills, a free math course before they have to take university math, a free science prep course before they take university science. Their arts, they get 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Education. And their major is English, their minor is History and Arts. And then they take all the education courses. We're early middle, we're not high school. High school's too specialized and we're too small a program. So we have 60 or 70 students in the program right now. And we've had 63 graduates. And we have about a dozen graduates a year, 10, depends on the year. So some more than others. And like I said, our number of school divisions are growing and growing. So we're very proud of our program. The schools love it. We have a huge party at the end of grad, and the trustees show up, the superintendents show up, the families show up, and it's a big deal, which it should be. My staff shows up, and we have a great celebration. And our teachers are everywhere. And It just keeps growing. Word of mouth. Word of mouth. We used to do mailings and everything, and we'd get 1 or 2 people for $1,000. It's word of mouth. It's our teachers are in all the schools, and the other divisions are now hearing about it. The Indigenous community and the reserves are now hearing about it because they've got people coming here and being successful. One of the things that's happening outside the city is it's hard to keep teachers on the reserves, and even some of the small towns way up. So what they want to do is just train the local people who are working as EAs to become teachers, and then they're part of the community. They're not coming in and saying, when do I get out? They stay. So they want them trained, and it's working out very well. Rosa River's coming on board this year, and I believe we'll have 4 of them starting. Seguin should have 2 graduates in a year from the program. So there's growing pains with it, but it's coming very well. And inside the city, very extremely well. The other thing that's happening in Winnipeg, because this is across Canada, you told me, is that bilingual programs are starting up. Okay, so Ojibwe and Cree, Winnipeg school divisions have bilingual. Actually, my students are some of the ones teaching it. Seven Oaks, the same sort of thing is happening there. And so they need speakers, they need input, they need the staff to represent. The third program, by the way, we have here is the ITEP program, Immigrant Teacher Education Program for teachers from other lands. They're also in all the schools. So we've got people from the main program, the immigrant population and the Aboriginal population, all coming out of this building and into the schools. And it's making the school divisions stronger, and that's from them. While the program is only for Indigenous people, it's funded particularly by the government for that purpose, to create Aboriginal teachers to be representative of the populations inside the city. They said, actually it should be happening now by the numbers, that 1 in 4 children inside the city is in the Indigenous descent. And there's nowhere near that number of teachers to represent that fact. Indigenous education for the faculty, remember we're only the Faculty of Education, we produce teachers here. And Indigenous education to me is giving people the opportunity to reach their potential. And these people, their dream is to become teachers and give back to their communities. So these are Indigenous people who are very proud, and they learn more of their culture and history. Our program is very heavily Indigenous. The history course is Indigenous literature for children from the English department. So we asked them, not 100%, but very strongly Indigenized content. We also have an elder and cultural component, which nobody has to take part in, but they choose to. So we're very proud of the culture and to bring that forward and to present it. But one of the things I've always said is these are Indigenous teachers for everybody. Mm-hmm. They have to teach other people. So they have to be teachers for the diverse populations that are out there. And Winnipeg is very diverse, like Canada is very diverse. So even though we're very heavily Indigenized content, not 100%, because they will be teaching everyone. And again, everybody has to be cognizant of the fact of who is in the classrooms, because they may not have one Indigenous child in their class, possibly.
Yeah, that's absolutely.
Possibly.
Yeah,
so Indigenous education is, for me, is to get more Indigenized people into the community who are going to be strong, very strong role models and teachers for the kids, for every child. I wanted to bring up one other thing about, you said like to talk proudly about our program, which I obviously do. A number of years ago, unbeknownst to me, this fellow read in the paper that there was this KTEP program, and it intrigued him. And he showed up on my doorstep, and he wanted to know more about it, like you're asking today. And he was from the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba. And I said, okay. The Jewish Foundation of Manitoba is the second largest foundation. The Winnipeg Foundation is the largest. And he represented the Dansker bursaries. The Danskers were a famous family in Winnipeg, had no children, left a lot of money to the Jewish Foundation. And I'm Jewish. I didn't know that they gave out money to other organizations. They do. And he heard about our program and was intrigued. He came and saw it. He gave $3,000 a year in bursaries to the KTEP program. And he said for 3 years, like $9,000 commitment, based on what need that I saw the students needed, we could help them. They are getting paid. That's one of the unique features. They're getting paid as EAs while they're in the program, and when they're not, when they come in full time, they're getting employment income from the province. But that's 55% of their salary, which isn't huge to begin with. So $3,000 a year for 3 years, and he came, and he saw, and he liked. After 3 years, he comes and he says, my 3-year commitment's over, and that's what I promised you, and that's what you got. And I said, you realize I'm going to twist your arm on the way out of the door. He said, you don't have to. The program is so good. It's $5,000 ongoing. And we've got about $50,000 already that's been given only to the Cape Tap students because he sees the value of the program and what it's doing in the community. And we didn't ask for that. They came from nowhere, and they see the value, and they're supporting it financially. Now, school divisions, each one is different, and you can't tell school boards how to spend the money. You'd be wrong to do that. So one of the school divisions basically supplies tuition and books for their students that come here. Another one does it in the first year. The others just release them from their jobs. But that's still a big thing. And they guarantee their jobs so they can come back to it. And then hopefully they'll hire them. All the school divisions are partners. They come to meetings. They're very rare, but we do have meetings to discuss the program and what we could do. We're in communication with them. And we test all of the students before they get into the program to make sure that they can be successful. And it's working out extremely well. Well, this program is only supposed to be 2 years long, and we're going in, it's 13 years now. Looking ahead to the next 10, I see it only expanding. More partnerships with more school divisions. There's still a few in the city that haven't come on board. The last few, before I was sending out letters, come and join us, come listen, whatever. I'm not doing it anymore. They're not coming to me. And it's not that the letters didn't seem to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So we're waiting, because they're hearing from each other. And the trustees speak to each other, and the trustees come to these banquets that we have, and it's the biggest love in the world. Often the first person in the family. We've had 2 and 3 family members, because one they send their sister or their brother. We had 2 sisters graduate at the same time, and 2 years later their younger brother graduated from the program, all working, all employed. So we change lives, we change families. Not only do we change the person who's taking the program, we often change the nuclear family all around them and extended to show them success. And they love it, and we're very proud of our students. The province of Manitoba has been a fantastic partner with us, and they fund the program. The programs here, the access programs, the WEC and KTAP, are both provincially sponsored. And that gives us the latitude to provide the free math, the free study skills, the free science course, to have an elder on site, to provide resources. We have a thing called an ELF. ELF is ELF, Emergency Loan Fund, because even though these ones, WEC doesn't have that, but they're not working. But they've got grants and other things, band funding or whatever. We have like the ELF loan, emergency loan funds to help them over a rough period of this, and things like that. So the province is funding us. I have no complaints. I'm very pleased with the support that we get from the government. Extremely pleased with all of our partners. And the Danskers was just found money that we give, and they don't have to pay any of that back. That's bursaries. We get our professors from basically across the street, and these are people that are experts in their areas, like Indigenous languages or literature, not languages per se. The languages seems to be a big thing now for at least some of the school divisions, but we have at the university Indigenous Studies, which isn't us, but it's U of W, so you can transfer the credits, and they can take languages here, Ojibwe and Cree. So that's something that's coming. I see more partnerships within for the few divisions that haven't joined might. I don't know if they're resisting or whatever. You know, you hear the line sometimes, well, we don't really have Indigenous people. Well, they haven't really looked.
Right, yeah.
Because they're there.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I mean, you can't see it's a little pocket here and a little pocket there. Everybody's everywhere. So I think some of them might come around, but if they don't, that's fine. Our programs are growing. And I think we'll get more of the outside the city. The problem with the outside the city as far as growth is getting them here. Rosso River is close enough that they said they'll drive in. Sagin, being so clever that I am, I thought we'll send one instructor out instead of having 6 people come in. I'll pay mileage and lunch, and they get paid anyway, so they'll go, which we did. And I thought that'd be a really good thing. one person out instead of a few people coming in. Total disaster.
Mm.
And the reason was from the students, which are the adults there, too many distractions. Their own children are there, their job was there, the teachers are there, the kids are there, their families are there. They would go and not come back. They got called away. The coffee lasted a lot longer, the coffee breaks, frustrating the instructors. They came to us and said, could we please come to the university? And which is such a nice thing with the partnerships, Seguin First Nation released them from their jobs on Fridays, paid them, so they didn't lose any money, and they drove, carpooled in or came in themselves to the building here. They first came in very timid. You ought to see them now. The self-confidence. Remember, they came in and they were like scared little deers in headlights because they're coming off the reserve to the city and the university. And my students are Aboriginal. They're Indigenous themselves, over half of them. KTEP's all Indigenous. WEC is 50%, and they felt intimidated from the city, that's urban rural though. Mm-hmm. But now you wouldn't believe the confidence and self-assuredness they are, and they're going to go back and teach. They're saying already from the reserve that they can't wait to have them. They're using them as teachers, which they're short of people. They're short of people, so they need them. So I see more of the divisions outside the city coming in. It's just the problem of getting here. But they're willing to drive an hour and a half to come twice a week, and the schools are letting them out. So the program will expand one way or the other. And like I said, extremely successful. I know of no other program that has the success rate for the number of people we're putting through.
Fantastic.
And I don't know of other programs in Canada that are doing something similar. I mean, if there are, I haven't heard of them yet.
Nor have I. And now, is there anything else that you wanted to share that I haven't asked, but you feel you want to say about your program?
They're mature learners. That's why we provide the extra supports. Once we accept them, we want to be successful. We also offer free tutoring. We have a free computer lab. We have lockers. We have a lunchroom for them when they come here. This is the second home type of thing. We call it the family of learners. Sometimes dysfunctional, but very much a family, and everybody takes pride in one another for the most part. And we have all the supports basically inside the building. That's another thing. Before we were further out, we weren't this close to the university, and it sort of worked, but the problem was there was a disconnect. They didn't see themselves as attached to the university because they were at a big distance. And some of the classes were on campus that we couldn't offer on the other sites we were at. So they had to come in anyways. But then they had to either take their cars and move them and pay, like you're paying today for parking, which is hard around the university. And, or take buses and stand in the cold and everything else. This is the best. Close but separate. The university is across the street. We're not a separate little isolated program that has its own people that say, oh, we're protective. It's the same professors that they'd have if they went across the street who come here. The professors were a little leery maybe initially, but I've been here 18 years. The professors are not begging, but the professors are asking to come here. They want to be part of the program. They love our students. They love the maturity. When I came from the school system 18 years ago, I thought the students across the street would be the gung-ho kids and asking all the questions, and my adult learners would be sitting there kind of shy and withdrawn, and I was totally wrong again. The mature learners have life experiences. They've got their own children. They've dealt with the system. They've dealt with social services. They've dealt with all sorts of things, and they ask. They're serious. They realize this is a program of second and third chances. Our motto is access equals success. And we give opportunity, and what they make of it, we try to help them as much as we can to succeed. And it's working out very well for us. So they have the same profs as everyone else. Their university degree does not say KTEP or WEC. It says Faculty of Education, University of Winnipeg. They can go anywhere in the world with that degree. And they walk with everybody at convocation, not as a cohort. They go like alphabetical, so you're all mixed up with it, which they should. We celebrate our own little party at night, like I mentioned, which is a big celebration, and we give our own plaque that says KTEP on it. But at the university, they're UW. They also can use everything across the street, the cafeteria, the gymnasium, the library, the computer labs. And we have all of those inside the building. We have our own academic advisor. We have our own financial advisor. We have our own counselor. And actually, we have one for personal counseling, one for financial counseling, one for academic counseling. And then we have the elder for spiritual counseling, plus teachings. And that's something that's newer to us. We've had it before, but now we have an elder room, a cultural room that we just got painted in furniture and circle and, for the program, because the program's expanding. And it's all very good. And, I'm very proud of everything we do here. It's all working out. The staff's fabulous. The support staff's fabulous. Like I said, I've been here 18 years and started with one program, and from WEC and then into KTEP, then into ITEP. And I wanted to give you this, just so you know, since it's Indigenous, we have a post-bac in Indigenous knowledge that's going into its 4th year. Because we have these people graduating from KTEP, and which is all Indigenous, and WEC, which is 50%. But anybody can take that. You don't have to be indigenized to take the post-bac in Indigenous knowledge. And when I started that program, I told the people that funding that it's 60% North American, 40% world, because they're Indigenous people around the world. So I've got an Indigenous Japanese gentleman professor. He comes in. He's Indigenous to one of the islands in Japan where they took away his language and his rights. So it sounds a little bit familiar. Mm-hmm. And he talks to them about his experience in other places in the world with indigenizing and colonization and everything else that's happened to people. So it's really interesting.